So let me walk through this briefly, clearly, one by one. So I'll start with the first one. There is no single future. We are no longer moving towards one predictable outcome. We are navigating a multiple plausible futures or paths at the same time, and you see that in the different adoption curves across regions. You see different investment logic across companies, and obviously different policy priorities by market. Electrification is a good example. The direction is clear over the long term, but the pace and the path are not uniform. And that creates fragmentation. Product mix evolves differently by region. We are seeing that. Investment timing varies. Industrial policies influence footprint decisions in real time. Historically, success came from getting the forecast right. Today's success comes from staying effective when the forecast is wrong. So the shift is pretty fundamental. From optimizing for one expected future to building systems that can perform across several realities. So that's a different capability and increasingly a competitive one. Second, this is my favorite. Capital demands clarity, and this is becoming more important, not less. Because in this environment, plants are constantly being tested by tariffs, by sourcing rules, by inflation, by incentives, demand shifts. All in all, here's the key point. Capital doesn't wait for clarity, unfortunately. So if clarity doesn't show up, capital simply routes around ambiguity. So companies have to be very clear about what they're optimizing for, where will they invest, and also importantly, where will they not? In other words, how will they remain disciplined? And that clarity is not just about numbers, it's about credibility. It's showing that strategy, execution, and resource allocation are all connected as we talk through. In today's environment, clarity comes less from certainty and more from alignment, transparency, and the discipline that I just talked about. Third point, flexibility is now a competitive advantage. For a long time, efficiency was the dominant logic in the industry, and for a good reason, of course. Scale, utilization, cost, which are all adding to efficiency, of course still matter. But when assumptions change faster, I believe efficiency alone is not enough. The real advantage comes from building optionality into the system, which means product architectures that can adapt, manufacturing footprints that can absorb mix shifts, supply chains that can hold under pressure. And at Magna, we see this in our manufacturing model. As an example, in many cases, we can support multiple programs and multiple propulsion types within the same facility. What that does is allow our customers to respond to demand shifts without completely resetting their investment base. So flexibility is not the opposite of discipline. In this environment, it is discipline because it reduces the cost of being wrong. Fourth point, complexity must be designed out. This is one of the biggest, I would say, the mindset shifts underway. For years, the industry has tried to solve complexity late in the process, through labor, through automation, through workarounds. But if complexity is designed into the system early, you carry the cost all the way through. And that shift from automating complexity to eliminating it up front is very powerful because those early design decisions determine cost, quality, scalability, and ultimately competitiveness, which is so very important in our industry. Fifth point, Industry 4.0 is about systems and not tools. And there is a lot of focus on AI, automation, data analytics, and so on. But the reality is these only create value when applied to specific constraints at scale. Define the problem, understand what is the problem you're trying to solve, what is the objective, or what is the outcome we expect, and then try to apply the tools that are available. So I would like to say the real prize is not novelty, it's measurable operational improvement. For example, in our unified factory approach, we coordinate material movements in real time, we link production schedules, inventory, and logistics, we optimize decisions across the entire system. This problem can be taken as implementing AI, implementing AMRs, implementing automated material movement, but rather we have tried to look at the problem as how do we get the most optimized material flow in the factories and how do we measure it in either MOH, manufacturing overheads, or reduction in SG&A, reduction of idle time, reduction of things that move material, in a very productive way. The number of empty trips made by the forklift or an AMR or a tugboat, whatever that is. Looking at that and trying to quantify that and then applying automation or AMRs or whatever the tool is in the right way, that's where the economic impact shows up. So the sequence, I believe, is critical. Understand the system, identify the constraint, define what better looks like before you even start, and then apply technology at scale. That's how you create durable advantage. The last point in closing. So when you step back, these realities point to a simple conclusion. This industry has to operate differently than it did in the more stable era. We have to make decisions earlier. We have to simplify systems sooner and build organizations that can respond faster. The winners won't be the ones who predict everything perfectly. They'll be the ones who adapt faster and more consistently than everyone else.